In this podcast, I'm speaking to former Highland League striker Scott Graham. He played for the likes of Fort William, Buckie, Brora, Forest, Rothes, Strathspey, Nairn, and Clach. His highlights include clinching the North of Scotland Cup with Nairn, winning the Highland League Cup in dramatic style with Clach in a penalty shootout, title glory with Brora, playing in Australia, and much more. Hope you enjoy this podcast. Make sure to spread the word and tell your friends and family who are interested in the Highland League about the podcast. Scott, what would you say are your kind of earliest memories of playing football?
Earliest memories, probably about 7 or 8. I think playing down in Glasgow. Used to play with a team called Ballachyfield. So it was like just sort of seven asides when we were that young, and that was pretty much it. Playing along with your friends and enjoying it.
Yeah, so what was your kind of first club that you played for?
Yeah, it's a team called Ballachyfield. That was down in Cumbernauld. Um, that was the first team that I played with. And I sort of split my time between Skye because my dad stayed up in Skye, so I would spend quite a lot of time up in Skye as well. But there wasn't as much sort of organised football up there, you know. So there's a this all sort of like village teams, but yeah, for the younger players, there's not really a lot up there to be honest. But yeah, so yeah, down in Glasgow, that was my first team.
Yeah, so when was the first time you were playing like say Highland League level or some sort of level like that?
Um, Highland League, like well, I was in at Clyde when I was younger.
Oh yeah.
That's what sort of that's what sort of started for me, and then I don't know if you remember, they went bust,
Yeah.
and then they dropped down the divisions. So it was then I sort of moved up to Skye full time and got an apprenticeship. So I was just playing in the village team up there. My dad was actually the manager for Clach, and a couple of the boys were playing for Fort William. So that's when I started going down there. Um, it wasn't very regularly though, because I think I was only 16 at the time.
Hmm.
Yeah, so obviously wasn't driving or anything, so I was sort of relying on, other people going down. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was my sort of first taste of the Highland League.
Yeah, so what was it like being at Fort William? Well, obviously you went there later down the line as well, but how was it? What was it like then?
It was pretty tough. As I said, there was a carload going down from Skye. I remember my first game. Big Rob was the manager. Don't know if you know Rob Mulhern.
Yeah.
Um, so went down. Never met him before, and I met him probably about 50 minutes before the game started. And he's like, you're playing up front today. We played against Forest Mechanics. And they had a really good team then. Pelly was the manager. Sort of Sid Mackay, he was playing up front for them, and we got beat. I think it might have been 9-0. So there wasn't it's a lot of running about that day, and bit of a harsh welcome to the Highland League, really.
Hmm. Do you think it put you in good stead going forward in terms of being able to cope with, a heavy defeat or
Well, it certainly toughens up because, as I said, I was only a young boy, but you're playing against real men. You know what I mean? Like it was men's football. So it never, it never likened me to losing goals and losing games anymore. But it's definitely toughened us up.
yeah, so how long were you with Fort William at that time for?
I was 2 years. As I said, it was very sporadic because I wasn't driving and it was dependent on other boys going down. So it was like 2 years, but it wasn't very many games. The second season, Rob left, and then it was towards the end of the season we played. I think it was about five. I think I played the last 5 out of 7 or something like that. Because when I was doing my apprenticeship, I was based in Inverness, so then that made it easier to get to training and stuff like that. Because obviously there was boys going down from here.
Yeah. So was there any players that people will remember that you played with at Fort William? Any?
Um, just trying to think. There was a few boys from Skye. I can't remember who was in the Fort William team then. So we Sean Ellis actually, do you know
Oh
Shawnee?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Sean, he was even younger than me. He was in about the team then. There was a few guys, but there was a guy played up front, Norman McLean. I don't know if you remember him. He's from Mallygank. He was a good player. Like he was good to play up front with. But yeah,
So in terms of after that, how did the kind of Nairn County come about?
so in the running at the end of the season, we played. Sorry, we had a few away games, like for the last 3 games of the season, and we played Clach one Wednesday night at Clach Park. I think it was their last game of the season, and we ended up winning 3-0. And I scored a couple that night. And it was sort of after then that sort of teams started getting in touch with me. Obviously there was Les and Duncan Shearer. He was at Buckie at the time, so it was the two I was sort of speaking to. But to be honest, yeah, I wasn't even driving then still, so it wasn't really it wasn't a sort of straightforward decision. Um, yeah, that's where it all started.
Yeah, so why did you end up going to Nairn? What kind of persuaded you to pick them over Buckie?
The Because it was closer and it was a lot easier, obviously for them. Yeah, just for getting to it and stuff like that. I was still based in Skye, living in Skye, so yeah, and I just got a good feel for it as well. It was like Les was quite persuasive, and it's a cracking club there. So yeah, no, it was good to get
Yeah.
involved there.
Yeah, so in terms of adjusting to joining them, how did you find that compared to, your spell at Fort William?
Yeah, it was the chalk and cheese. It was quite a big shock to me because it's such a well run club, really professional, and it's like something that I wasn't used to in terms of like because it was just a change from what I was used to. But it was good. It did take a bit of getting used to it to start with, but once I got settled and all that, and then I got my driving license, I could make training all the time. It made things a bit easier, and it was easier to adjust.
Yeah, so who were the kind of standout players in that team at Nairn?
There was loads. Um, Goalie, we had John Campbell, like
Yeah.
JC. He's a brilliant goalie. Um, had Jonesy, Duncan Jones. I was playing up front with Sean Kerr as well.
Oh yeah.
There was older heads there. Willie Barron was still playing at the time. He was good. There was a lot of good players there.
Yeah. How important was that in terms of you kicking on, being surrounded by players like that?
It was very important. It was good because they had a good mix of sort of older heads and younger heads, and it was quite good. Everybody was mixing together and all that as well. You know what I mean? So it was good. There was sort of the Nairn boys and the Inverness boys, and then there was like me and John Campbell.
Mm.
But everybody got on, so yeah, nah, it was good. It was good to go there. Like,
Yeah, so what was Les like as a manager? What's his sort of style, in terms of man management?
Les was good. It was I think it's kind of he was I think that it was a fair while, it was quite a while ago.
Yeah, yeah,
um, no, Liz was good. Wasn't a lot of tactics. It was sort of just let the sort of forward players do their stuff. A wee bit more building, being solid at the back.
yeah,
Um, that's the way it sort of was back then. It's a wee bit different now. It's a bit more sort of tactical and in depth. But there was a lot of freedom on you to express yourself, so it was good.
yeah. So in terms of what were your kind of main highlights? I remember you won the North of Scotland Cup because you scored in the final. What do you
Yeah,
remember about that?
yeah, that was good. We played. It was at Clach Park. We played Cali that day, and there's quite a few boys who obviously went on to play in the Highland League were playing for Cali that day. But no, that was a good day. It was great to get the first medal. You sort of think when you're that age and you win a medal, you think that it's going to come sort of all the time. If you don't sort of, well, you enjoy it on the day of it, but you don't sort of take it in. But no, it was a good day. We played really well that day, and I thoroughly deserved it.
Yeah. Do you remember? Obviously, it's a quite a long time ago. Do you remember much about the celebrations or from?
I do actually. I the A bus had came through from Skye. My dad had came through, and a few of my friends and all that sort of stuff. So we had a few drinks in Inverness. I think all the boys went back to Nairn, but I actually went back to Skye on the bus. So it wasn't too exciting for me that night. Not as exciting for the boys in Nairn anyway.
Yeah. So I mean, how good was that to go from, playing bits and bobs for Fort William, obviously because of the driving situation to lifting a trophy?
Yeah, no, that was great. It was no, it was really good. Quite unexpected, to be honest. As I said, it wasn't really with Fort William. It wasn't consistent. It wasn't full time. But when there, it was totally different. And um, I think that's where I sort of got the passion to get into it more. Really, and take it more serious. Um, but yeah, no, it was excellent getting the trophy.
Yeah. So you ended up going out to Australia. How did that come about?
Yeah, so basically there's a guy from Skye. I don't know if you know him, Grant Davidson.
I
Oh,
recognize the name, yeah.
yeah, it's a striker. Well, his dad was the league secretary in Skye. So they used to have this thing. It was like an inter-island tournament during the summer. Skye have a team, Uist, Stornoway, all that sort of stuff. So like Gordy Moore used to go and play for Stornoway. And I would go and play with Skye sort of thing. His dad was the manager, and we just got talking on the ferry on the way back. It was over a few pints sort of thing, and it was sort of tongue in cheek to start with. He was sort of saying Grant's team were looking for a striker. It was Ugali he was at.
Hmm.
So yeah, it just sort of started there, and then aye, that's it. Before I knew it, I'd ended up sort of agreeing to go over there, and aye, that was it.
Yeah, so how did you find it at Ugali?
Yeah, it was good. Really enjoyed my time there. It was only there for the one season. It's different. It's a different sort of it's just different to the football over here. Um, there's sort of a lot in the fitness over there,
Yeah.
you know. But no, I really enjoyed it. It was strange though when we got to the end of the season because we won the league quite comfortably. So there was a few Scottish boys there, and me and two of my mates went over at the same time, and we thought we'd won the league. We're celebrating, and but it's not really the case there. It doesn't really mean anything. It goes to the sort of the end of season finals. And we ended up getting beat in the final at that, so that was a sore one to take.
Yeah, it's always odd with the grand finals. It's a
I
bit
know,
fairly
yeah,
strange.
it's bizarre, but like on the flip side, I've been on the other side of it as well. We're not finishing and then making it, so yeah, so it's I can see the pros and cons for it.
Yeah, so how did you find the kind of standard of football out there?
Yeah, it was good. As I said, they're really fit, and there's some really good players, and every team has a certain amount of visa players as well. So it's normally sort of British boys that are over there, and yeah, that takes the standard up as well.
Yeah, was there any other Highland League players played in that team with you? Because they seem to be known. I mean, the amount of Highland League players they've had over the years is like no mental. They've had.
Yeah, the I so the year I was there, Ali McLeod was over with me. Um, he played at Clach for a while, and obviously Grant was at Ross County
Yeah,
and Clach as well. There's a couple of guys from through Aberdeen with Stevie Crombie and Paul Darcy.
yeah, I recognize him.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah, they're a bit older, right enough, even older than me. But aye, so they were sort of there at that point. But it wasn't until the next year when I moved to Shep's House, there was sort of more current Highland League players in that league.
yeah, yeah. So who were the sort of players?
Sorry, Shep United it was.
Who were the sort of players with you at that point?
So I was at Shep United, so I was the only Highland League player in my team. But in the other teams, Gary McGowan was there, Dean Cowie, Robbie Taylor, Stephen Skinner. There's a couple of other ones. There's actually a boy there that I played with at Clyde as well, Kevin
Hmm.
Shaw. Um, but yeah, so the second season down in Shepherd, and that's a sort of step up that league. So yeah, that was a better standard.
Aye, what league was that? Was that MPL or was that
No, so that was the MP. I think it was about 2 years after I left. They turned it into like the Goulburn Valley. That became like an MPL team.
yeah,
It
yeah.
was just the sort of Shepparton League and surrounding areas. But it was really competitive because it was like so the team I played for was Greek,
Yeah.
and the Shep's House that was the Italian team. That was for like Sheep and that, and Gary McGowan they were at that. And then there was like a Macedonian team. So it was like it was very they took it very serious, you know.
Yeah, so you were just filling a team of Greeks. Is that the kind of
Well, it was just, there was all yeah, it was mad. The president, his father, he's like proper Greek. He didn't even speak English. He could only speak Greek,
okay.
which was mad. But yeah, I so yeah, our team was Greeks played in the all blue.
Oh yeah. So
But
yeah. So what were your favorite memories there, would you say?
um, well, the second season, uh, we got to the grand final again, but we got beaten penalties. So that was probably the worst one. But we finished fourth that year,
Yeah.
so that was like the sort of the other side of it. We actually got to the grand final. But my favourite memory in Australia is probably after the first year, I got invited to play. There was like a Riverina Select, an under 23 team. They went up to play Central Coast Mariners.
Oh, cool.
So we went up to Sydney training for the week, and we had a game against them. So that was good. It was quite a highlight.
Yeah, so what was that like facing like an A League team?
It was good. We were well beaten, but I played quite well that night as well. I was talking to their manager after it. So he was quite complimentary and stuff. So I was quite chuffed. But they had some players that were just incredible. They had a guy in the middle of the park. I think his name's Amini or Amin, something like that. But 6 months later, he went to Borussia Dortmund.
Oh my God, that's
Yeah, so I think it was 4-1 maybe on the night or 3-1, something like that. But yeah, they were a real step above.
yeah. Did you ever did you ever want to like try and get up to the A League when you were out there? Was that ever an aim or?
Well, when I actually came home, because when I went over, I stopped my apprenticeship. I only had about 8 months or something to go till I was qualified. So I was going to come home just to finish my time to head back over. So that was the plan. And then, as I was saying earlier, that the Shepparton team, they were putting in a team into the NPL, so and that actually started a couple of years later. Like Sean played in it with Sean Ellis, and so that was actually always the aim. But then I came back to Scotland. I was staying back down the road with my mum, and then Foley got in touch with me, and he sort of said, "I come and play with us. We'll get you somewhere to finish your time off and all that." And then that was it. But then within that sort of 8 months, I met Anne's my wife. So that was it. I've
Oh,
been here
worked
ever
out.
since.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So how did you find that joining Clach?
Um, really good uh, team at the time. It was Clark were quite. It was quite a young team we had at the time, and everybody got on pretty much after the first training session. I was like, this is where I'm wanting to play, sort of thing. So for the first couple of weeks, I was travelling up and down from Stirling, um, but then I ended up moving in with my auntie up here and all that, and that was good. It's a great move and good team, really good boys at the time. They had a good mixture of like young boys and they had a few older heads in there,
Yeah,
so
because
it was
there
good.
was. Yeah, I remember there was Paul Brindle was playing. Who else was there? Martin Lang. Martin Lang.
Yeah, I think Martin Lang was. I don't think Brindle. I think Brindle might have been the year. I think he came the year after.
Aye.
I think at the time it was like Alan Pollock, Colin Williamson, um, I think Gordy Moe was still there.
Yeah, yeah.
Scotty Moe was there. Marty Callum, Sam Market was still there. So it was a really good team.
Yeah, yeah. So one of the kind of main kind of highlights I was actually at the final was the Highland League Cup win against Buckie. What was it like playing in that game? Because just
Yeah, it was good. It was exhausting. It was very end to end, that final. That's how I remember it. I thought we had it in the bag at one point, and then thought we'd lost it, and then it was a very it was a good day though. It was great. It's the first time Clark had won in I think it was 10 years. But, no, it was great. It's a great day.
yeah. Yeah, it must have been a roller coaster going back and forward because I remember thinking it's not going to go to penalties and then it just kept on going.
Yeah, I know it was mad. It was as I said, it was an absolute roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah. So how, I mean, that final seemed to be very important in terms of a lot of players got moves after that.
Yeah,
How good was, I mean, including yourself, and there was a couple
yeah.
other people went to Brora as well.
So I think Colin had left at the start of that season, if I remember correctly, and I think Alan Pollock he'd left to Nairn a couple of months before it as well. So yeah, it sort of felt, and Sam was away as well. I think Sam went to Elgin. Um, so yeah, it did sort of feel very much like the team was sort of breaking up at that point. Um, but yeah, it was probably only a few days after that that Broda got in touch. To be fair, to talk about the possibility of moving up there.
Yeah. Was that something that had been an option before or?
Um, not had never heard anything from Broda. Um, the season before in the summer there was talks of Peterhead were sort of speaking and for Martin,
Yeah.
but so we're quite happy at Clach at the time, and as I said, we had a good team and we were all friends, so we can actually sign a new deal instead of going.
Yeah. So what was the main thing that persuaded you to leave to go to Brora?
It was just sort of obviously winning. I sort of felt that it wasn't going to get any better than that, because a couple of years before that we were going to the league and we got close, but we sort of fell apart. And as I said, a lot of the boys were leaving, so it just sort of felt like a sort of good timing and a good sort of natural end.
Yeah. So how did you find joining Brora? Obviously, they were developing into a team that were winning the league constantly.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it was again. It was like it was another step up. They'd won the league the season before, and yeah, no, it was a great dressing room up there. Um, yeah, yeah, no, it was good. Really enjoyed it. First, it was tough to trying to break into the team and stuff like that, but once you got in, it was good. It was very enjoyable.
Yeah, do you think that upped your game in terms of the amount of striking options they had at their disposal at that time?
Yeah, definitely. Aye, you always had to be in top of your game because the boys up there just wouldn't allow it to drop. Even in training the standards in training was ridiculous. Um, but yeah, it was good. It was really good to be a part of.
Yeah. So who would you say were kind of the best players in that team? Obviously, that's hard to say because there were so many good players.
Aye, it is hard to say. So everybody brought something different. Obviously Grant. I really enjoyed playing with Grant. He's he doesn't get spoke a lot about how actually good of a footballer he is. Like,
Yeah.
he could always coming out of defence, he could always find a pass. Xander, fantastic as well as a top class. Um, others you could go through all of them to be honest. Yeah, there's good players in every position.
Yeah. So why do you think not a lot of people talked about, how good a player,
I don't know if it's sort of seen as just a big centre half. You know what I
hmm,
mean? Sort of old school, but nah, he wasn't. He was great on the ball. As I said, every time Grant was on the ball, he could find bother. A great left foot on him. Tokes was the same as well.
yeah.
It's exactly the same. They're both great players.
Yeah. Is it just sort of players that get kind of stereotyped at times in terms of,
Yeah,
they do?
I think that's it. Yeah, uh, I think that's exactly it.
Yeah. So in terms of obviously you went on and won the league, how great was that? Obviously, this was a team that were, always up near the top.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was obviously a great achievement. We went unbeaten that year as well, so it was great to be a part of that. As I said, like when I was saying about it there, and you just sort of think at that time, you just think this is just going to keep happening and happening. We went on quite a good run. I think we won the first. I think it was the North of Scotland in the Highland League that year. And the year after, it was the Highland League Cup and the Highland League. We never got all three of them in the one season, but Sid's managed to do that now. They've done that, so
Yeah,
fair
I
play to
was
them.
always surprised Brora never did it before.
I know. I think the see the Highland League Cup that we won at Clach.
Yeah.
Brora got put out of that because of I think something to do with a young player that played or something
Oh
like that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that actually worked to my benefit. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think that year they would have done it. But yeah, we got the benefit of that.
Mm. So, is there any kind of funny memories from your time at Brora? Stuff that happened on the pitch, or can any?
The vast majority I probably couldn't say on the buses and the back home.
Yeah.
That was all. It was all good times. To be honest, yeah, some great. Made some like in the Scottish Cup runs. They're always like good memories. There's a few good stories in the buses on the way back, but I probably shouldn't say about that. But yeah, I went a couple of good Scottish Cup runs, scoring late winners and stuff like that way down at teams. And I think the last Scottish Cup run we went on, we ended up was it Kilmarnock,
Yeah,
your
yeah,
team.
yeah. So what was that experience playing at a ground like that against, an SBL team?
Aye, it was good. It was really good. It was tough. So obviously Kilmarnock then that was Steve Clark that was the manager. So like they were well drilled and yeah, it's just it was probably more than a couple of levels above us, but it was a great experience. The fans were brilliant that day. Um, that was good. It was really enjoyable.
Yeah, I still remember the drum and I think there was a bagpipes. I'm sure there was a bag.
Yeah, yeah, they were great that day. They were great. There's one funny story actually from that day. Obviously, Chris Boyd was playing up front,
Yeah.
and Digger Martins, he's from Stornoway, and they've got the biggest Rangers supporters club up there. So the Brora fans were giving him a bit of stick, and he asked for Boyd's boots after the game. I'm from Stornoway and part of the Rangers supporters, so I think he doesn't get your boots. So he's like, no, that was it.
Hmm.
Shut him. I was playing against Broadfoot.
Oh yeah, how was that? It's Broadfoot, right?
Yeah, aye. No, it was good. He's quite tough to play against, to be fair. Quite fit, quite strong as well. But just try and get as good as you get, don't you?
Wow.
They had I'm trying to think. Jordan Jones
Oh
was
yeah,
there. Eamon Brophy. Actually, they had a few big players.
yeah.
But we got a goal against us just before half time. It kind of killed us, to be honest. That was it.
Mm. But how great was it in terms of putting kind of Highland League like on the map? Because I think a lot of people elsewhere maybe don't as much credit as it deserves.
Yeah, no, it was really good. And the run up to it, we put out quite a few league teams, and it was all away ties. Um, that year, if I remember, I think well, saying that, I think we were at home in the first tie, and then we were away down to Edinburgh, and it was like East Fife. We played Stranraer, all big long bus trips. But yeah, no, it was good. It was good, and all the Highland League teams that year were actually doing quite well. If I remember, I think the day we beat Stranraer, there was a 4 or 5 sort of went through to the next one. But yeah,
Yeah. So in terms of obviously you went out to Australia. Again, was that always something you were looking to do?
yeah, it was sort of, I suppose it was always sort of at the back of my mind because, as I said, there was planning on going back there, and the way things sort of worked out at home, my aunt just wanted to do it as well. So yeah, we sort of decided we were gonna head over.
Yeah. So how did you find it in terms of the football? Obviously, you were at a different team.
Yeah, so it was another step up again. It was a state league. But, yeah, no, it was good. It's a good standard. But obviously, I ended up not there very long.
Yeah.
Um, I was only there probably 2 months at the time. So we found out Ange was pregnant, so that's what we sort of moved home.
Yeah. So in terms of when you came back, obviously you kind of mentioned there was potentially other clubs that you could have went to, like Helgen or
Yeah, when I came back, I'd met Jim Weir, and he was I'd basically sort of decided that I was going to go to Elgin and try, give League Two a bash, but and then I went back up to Brora to sort of speak to Ben just to let him know sort of thing. But after a conversation, Brora went quite hard that summer in terms of signings, and they were really wanting to get up the league as well. He sort of said to me, how are you going to feel if we're in that division next year? And you know what I mean? Would you not want to be part of it, sort of thing? As I said, they got like Richie Britton had signed, Ketts, so they were really going for it. So I had sort of came back to Brora.
yeah. So how did you find playing alongside those sort of players, like Kettlewell and Richard Britton?
Yeah, no, they were good. Again, it was just they just sort of lifted the standards up again. Um, Brora was like that anyway. In terms of training and stuff like that, the standards were always through the roof. Well, most of the time, and these guys just sort of added to it.
Yeah. So in terms of you obviously went on to win the win the league again, and then I remember you played in the first play was it the first playoff games you played before you went out to Australia again or
Yeah, Edinburgh City.
yeah, so how
We
how
played
did
in, yeah.
Yeah, so how did you find that experience? Obviously, you didn't end up playing in the final, but you.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was good. It was there was a lot of stuff at the time. People saying that they weren't wanting to go up and all that sort
Hmm.
of stuff, but it was we were wanting to win and go up, and it was good to be part of it. The last game I played was can't remember what the score was down in Edinburgh, but we beat them on penalties at home, and then obviously the Montrose game I sort of flew to Australia on the following Tuesday,
Yeah.
um, and we had a bit of a weak team then, but I was gutted for the boys, and they never managed to get up.
Yeah, because I mean, as you said, a lot of people stupidly just said, "Oh, Brora don't want to go up." Like they're not,
Yeah,
and it's like, which is not true because the amount of players and stuff in the team.
yeah, no, exactly. All the boys were wanting to go for it, and it's just unfortunate it didn't materialise.
Yeah, so in terms of obviously went back out to um Australia, how was that time out there?
That was where that was the Wagga time that I
Yeah,
never
Wagga
went back
again.
again.
Yeah, Wagga again, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it was good. Um, but just we never really sort of got going to be fair, because I just wasn't there long enough. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, the time because you've got to wait for international clearance and stuff like that, and then as I said, we'd find out Angie was pregnant, so it never really got going to be fair at Wagga.
Yeah. So what in terms of I'm trying to you've had more clubs
There,
than
there,
than I've
there's a few clubs to get about, isn't there?
yeah, so I think the next one was Forest Mechanics.
Um,
Was that the next one or
yeah, yeah, so I came back, signed with Brora, and then I ended up going to Forest the year after that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so no, it was good. Again, another great club. Um, really enjoyed my time at Forest. Um, there was a wee bit of uncertainty at Brora at the time
Yeah.
because Davy wasn't the manager anymore.
Oh
Richie took it, and then um, so it was all a bit sort of there's a lot of uncertainty at the time. But yeah, I remember taking the call from Charlie, and that yeah, no, I was delighted to go through there.
yeah, so what was he like to play under?
It was good, Charlie. Yeah, good manager. Um, it's sort of shame again. He just like he liked a solid team, solid foundations, and he just sort of let the forward players, you know, sort of get on with it, sort of thing.
Yeah, how different was it to what it was like at Clach and at Brora? What was different about
Um, what in
like
terms of the
yeah, in terms of football environment, or was it quite or
no, it was good. It was I suppose every club's different, isn't it?
yeah.
They've all got their own sort of way of doing things. But no, Forest was good. It's a great club.
Yeah, any kind of standout moments in that spell that you had there? Any
Um,
places or
I we went in we went in a half decent Scottish Cup run with Forest as well. Uh, remember Big Nighty scoring last minute equaliser against it was Lossiemouth. Yeah, I think he made it two each, so then it went to replay. So then the next week we had to go down to Lossie, then we beat them, then down to Cumbernauld Colts, and then we drew with them. And so there was a replay, and then we beat them up at us, and then we played Stenhouse Muir, I think it was, and I think we drew with it. I think we drew with them at home. I think it was a replay again
mm.
down there. So that was a good wee Scottish Cup run.
Yeah, you've had plenty of Scottish Cup runs over the years. So.
Yeah, aye, no, it's good. Being spoiled again. It's the same as the sort of you sort of take it for granted at the time, but even sitting now when the Scottish Cup comes on and stuff like that, and you see all the smaller teams getting a shot, it's still get butterflies for them.
Yeah, how like great is it? those kind of moments playing in that cup competition?
It's brilliant. It's like it's not being too cliche. It is sort of that's the level you want to be at, you know. And then when you're playing against a bigger team and you're sort of getting written off and you win, it's great. There's no better feeling.
Yeah, and also it's good to kind of see and play at different grounds and kind of play against
Yeah,
different teams than normally. Just get
yeah. That's it. It's good. Getting to travel away a wee bit further, as you say, experience different grounds and stuff like that. And the bus journeys home are normally quite eventful as well, so that's always a bonus.
Yeah. So obviously you went on to play for Rothes and Strathspey. How did you find those spells at those clubs?
I will, to be honest, it didn't really work out for me at Rothes. It's just one of those things. Sometimes, you know what I mean? That's football. So I moved on to Strathspey after that. It was good. I loved it down there. Um, Gordy was the manager. I really got my sort of bug back for the game down there. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah. So obviously after that I'm just going through all the clubs.
Yeah,
Then you went to um Buckie.
yeah,
Obviously that's a quite a big jump in terms of Strathspey to Buckie. Um,
yeah.
so how did that come
Uh,
about? And
it was. I'd actually before I went to Rothes, I was speaking to Bucky, and I was going to go then. Then I decided to go to Rothes. Um, and so basically, when the next year after I was done at Strathspey, Spider got back in touch and sort of said, "You want to?" He'd sort of forgiven me for not going the year before and this fancy going through. And at that stage, it was buzzing to get back to sort of one of the sort of so-called bigger teams, you know.
yeah, so what is it like playing under him? Because he's quite intense. I mean, I've just from what I hear and what I've
Yeah,
seen sidelines.
yeah. No, again, it was different from every other club I've been at. Another great club. Quite lucky in the Highland League. There's so many great clubs about. But Spider was good. Obviously, Lewis was the number two. Yeah, he can be quite intense, but he's just very passionate about what he does, and he was a very good manager. Spider didn't leave any stone unturned.
Yeah, yeah. And also, I mean, they have quite, I would say it's fair to say they have a quite big expectations with their team, I would say.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely they do. And it's against high standards, and it starts right from the top. And but it was good.
Yeah, so who were kind of the players you played in that team with?
Um, who's there? Oh, just Kevin Fraser was there.
Yeah.
Um, Fantastic player. Kevin is really good. They signed the boy Jack Murray as well. He got him from Ross County. I think he's at Elgin now.
Oh, yeah.
He was centre half. Brilliant. Um, there was a few good players at Bucky. Um, it was really good.
Yeah. So then you ended up going back to Clach.
Yeah,
How did you find that? Obviously, that was kind of the team that you kind of made the big breakthrough in the Highland League.
yeah. It was. I wasn't really playing much towards the end at Bucky's. I was sort of coming off the bench quite a lot. Sort of being an impact. The legs were going a wee bit then. So I was just the chance came up to go to Clach, come back to sort of closer to home. Obviously, still living in Inverness, so
Yeah.
I it was good. Um, it was aye, it's good to get back to sort of familiar surroundings.
Yeah. So how long were you there for in that spell?
It was only a few months till the end of the season. I think it was about November time, and maybe sort of signed McLaughlin. It was just till the end of the year. Um, I then started a new job that summer, so it was like I couldn't really commit.
Yeah.
So that sort of brought an end to it. I did go back to sort of do the pre-season, the season after a bit, it's too hard to, when you're away for a couple of weeks to like switch it on and off, especially at my age.
Hmm. So
Yeah,
you ended up, did you end up going back to Fort William? Yeah, at some point, did you?
yeah. So it's weird. It sort of came full circle in the end. I it was when not, when Fort William were signing all them players, all the boys from
Oh yeah,
down
yeah,
south. Yeah.
yeah,
So there was a boy, Ash Ashley Holly.
yeah, yeah.
He was the Fort William manager at the time. So he was speaking to me. I was working with Maui at the time, so I was 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, and he sort of said, "Oh, that wouldn't be an issue." So yeah, I ended up going back to Fort William, but it was only for one game. Uh, we played, I think it was Nairn. It was Nairn on a Tuesday night. Ended up playing one game, and then I scored that night, and we drew two each. That was it.
You didn't play again.
Nah, I never played again. Nah, that was it was just too much of a commitment
Yeah,
for being away for 2 weeks and then coming home. Obviously, having to spend time with the family and stuff like that. So yeah, so
yeah,
that was the end of it.
yeah. So what was it? Obviously, you were there only briefly, but what was it like? I mean, that was obviously the time they got a lot of players down south, and it's a bit of a strange environment, getting all these players that.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was, I'm not too sure how many boys there was, but I think they had a few boys staying up in like caravans from
Aye,
down south. And speaking to a couple of the boys from like academy football down in England, um, it was bizarre to be honest, but it's a good experience, I suppose.
so you weren't you missed out on the fame of the documentary.
Yeah, I missed all that. I think that was, I
Yeah,
can't remember if that was the year before or the year after, but
yeah. So in terms of I noticed you'd been playing for our teams not that long ago. What teams have you been kind of playing? You're playing a bit.
I just sort of playing in the amateur
Yeah.
leagues in Inverness, just trying to keep the fitness going or
Yes.
get some level back.
Aye.
But it's not getting any easier, I can tell you that,
Hmm.
especially the recovery times.
Yeah.
Um, but I am playing with a team Tornagrain at the minute,
Yep.
so yeah, yeah.
So how are you finding that? Just enjoying having kick around playing football and just
Yeah, that's it. Just got a few mates in the team, and it's more the sort of social side of it.
yeah.
It's good, and it's still good to keep the brain active in terms of the football.
Yeah. So were you ever was there ever opportunities to go back in the Highland League after for William, or is it just because of commitment in terms of work? It's just this hasn't worked out.
Yeah, just work to be honest. I've not um sort of North Cali. I played a couple of games there and stuff like that, but again, it's just a commitment sort of thing. Um, it's hard to commit when you're it takes you a couple of games to get up and running, and then you're away and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. So final few questions. So who would you say has been the best player you've played with and played against?
The question. Played against probably. I remember when I was younger. It was Nairn. We were playing against Cove. Remember Paul Coots
Yeah.
when he was playing at Cove? He was brilliant before he got his move to Peterhead. Um, he was quite impressive. Obviously, guys in the sort of Scottish Cup run as well. You've
Yeah.
seen. Um, we played against sort of Rangers with Brora as well. Guys like Kenny Miller and stuff like that were playing. So in terms of played with, uh, we Xander was good.
Hmm.
Xander was brilliant.
Yeah. So in
He's
terms
he's
of
probably up there.
so has there been any kind of what's your kind of best goals you've scored? Would you say any ones you remember kind of stand out?
Best goals. Well, one of my favourite ones was. again, the Scottish Cup was for Clach. We playing against Ayr United. It was a
Yeah.
few years ago. That went down to Somerset. We ended up getting beat 2-1 in the day. That's probably one of my favourite goals. Oh, I enjoyed the Scottish Cup, as you can probably tell. um, scored a good free kick for Brora in the Scottish Cup as well. I got a full goal around, so I was quite chuffed with that.
So in terms of, has there been any kind of bizarre move or like club you've been like linked with or potentially joining over the course of your kind of career?
uh, nah, not really. Not really. Well, as I was saying before, the sort of when I was at Clark in the Peterhead thinking about it, that was a bit sort of I felt was a sort of out of the blue and a bit mad at
Yeah,
that time. Um, but nah, yeah, nothing really, nothing more than that.
yeah. So going back a bit, how did you find your time coming through at Clyde? How did you find that as a
Yeah, it was good. It was tough. Um, I was actually still playing boys club at the time, so I'd sort of been spotted at the boys club team, and I was in training with them,
yeah,
trying to make a breakthrough. And at the standard, the jumping standard from the boys club to there, it was insane. Um, really tough. But as it was just sort of getting going, it went bust. So
yeah.
it was sod's law really. But
So finally, who do you think's the most underrated player you've played with?
well, I've probably one of them would be Colin Williamson
Yeah,
at Brora. Yeah, he's a great player, great centre half.
yeah. Why do you think
Rolls
he's
Royce.
under? Yeah, why do you think he's underrated? Is it
I
just
don't know.
because
I
he's
think
been in the
it
teams
sort
he's
of
been in? Is that okay?
yeah, I think so. I it just sort of falls into that bracket of sort of being a defender, and there's all those sort of more forward players seem to get the plaudits a lot more.
Yeah.
Colin was brilliant at Clark, but I still go. He's a Rolls Royce call.
Um, do you watch a lot of, or do you keep an eye on the Highland League as much as you used to, or?
I keep an eye on it. I try and get down to Clark during the week when if I can, if I'm at home and stuff. But I've got a season ticket for down the road, so that sort of takes up most
Oh,
well,
yeah.
every second Saturday.
What do you make of, how much Clac's improved and where they're going at the moment?
It's great to see. Delighted for them. Um, Gez is obviously in there, and they're doing really well. I just hope they can keep on to their team, and sort of build on because that's always it seems to happen. Like it happened with Poli. You would maybe get a good year, and then they would lose boys. And the boys sort of Banshee was doing well, and now he's went to Brora. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping they can sort of keep the team together for a couple of seasons and kick on, and hopefully see them win the league one day.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Make sure to subscribe on your chosen podcast platform. Hope you can join me next time for another interesting interview.